My name is Maximilian Campbell, and today I'm going to talk to you about how your freedom is being taken away. And if you wait too long to act, it'll be too late to do something about it. So I'm going to talk to you about the freedoms that we have, the way that how and why freedoms might have been taken away, and look at examples of how they've been taken away in the past and what has happened. But before we can do that, we need to talk about what freedom is. So a lot of people would say that freedom is being able to do what you want. And that sounds pretty good. If I wanted to go buy an ice cream, I should be free to do that. I should be able to do that. But if what I want to do is run people over with a car, that would limit other people's freedom. And therefore it's not really freedom. What it really is power. Being able to do what you want is power. So that's not freedom. On the other hand, some people would say that freedom is when no one is forcing you to do anything, being free from coercion. But that's not freedom, that's liberty. If, if I want to go and buy an ice cream but I don't have any money, I'm not free to have ice cream, but I do have the liberty that no one is forcing me to not buy ice cream. And so there's a spectrum where on the one hand you have liberty and on the other hand you have power. And when you move from power to liberty, the number of people who can have it goes up and up, and the amount of freedom you have will go down and down as you reach the other ends of the spectrum, and somewhere in between where you find that happy balance of the most freedom you can have. So what freedoms do we have? We have the freedom of speech. And that's what a lot of Americans would say is the most important freedom that we have. And so what it does is it gives you some power and some liberty. Because with it you can spread ideas, you can influence other people, and you can force other people. You can't force other people what to do. You can at the most bully them, but it gives you some liberty. You can say what you want. You can not say what you want. And there's a lot of ways that you can spread your speech, especially in this day and age, with so many media that we have. We have the internet, we have TV, we have political ads all over the place, among other things that really allow free speech to go above and beyond what it ever has been before. Another freedom that we have is the right to bear arms. Now, compared to almost any other freedom, the right to bear arms gives you a lot of power, and it gives you the most liberty of any other. And you have to find that balance between them. So it gives you this power, and if you want to use it to hurt someone or kill someone, you can. It's very hard to stop that. And another way that it can be used to have power with people is that you can threaten people with violence. But just by having your gun, that you can force people to do other things just by the presence of that gun. But it gives you a lot of liberty. It gives you the ability to stand up to anyone who would try and put their power over you. If you are armed, it's very hard for someone to put power over you unless you get to the point where fighting isn't worth it anymore and you decide to give yourself up. Another freedom that we have is the freedom from unwarranted search and seizure. And that gives us some power and some liberty. It gives us probably the least amount of power of the three that we're talking about today, but a moderate amount of liberty. And the only power that it really gives you is that if you were to commit a crime, you would have some amount of time to hide evidence, I guess, while the police would have to find a warrant, which is one reason that people will say that we have to get rid of the Fourth Amendment and the protection from warrantless searches and seizures. But it does give you liberty. No one can break into your home without a warrant, theoretically. In reality, it's different, and we'll talk about that later. But first, we're going to talk about why people take away freedom. So, why do people take away freedom? The first reason, I'm going to make a joke about this, it would be funny, trust me, is that it's easy to give away other people's freedom. If someone says that I can't have the computer, I'm going to be really ticked off about that. If someone said people can't have computers, everyone would be really mad and they would do something about it. But if someone said you're not allowed to own a Commodore 64, no one would really care very much because no one uses Commodore 64s anymore except for a very small amount of people. I don't even know if they do, and I'm going to make a better point about this once I've figured everything out. But like, you don't care as much about other people's freedoms, even if it's the same freedom. If people said that, oh, I don't know, old people aren't allowed to have computers, I wouldn't care too much. Most people wouldn't care too much unless they just love freedom so much just to love freedom. Another reason is that people are afraid. They're afraid of other people having power, and they're afraid that people will have power who aren't. Oh, whoops, okay. So people are afraid. They're afraid of people who having power who aren't prepared, who aren't qualified to have that power. So they would rather take power away from the people who they believe are unqualified and give more power to the people who they believe are qualified, in turn taking away their own liberty and their own power. So let's talk about how people how freedom has been taken away in the past. Probably the most notorious system for taking away freedom was Nazi Germany. Now the Nazis were able to establish an authoritarian state in Germany, and they used the fear of the Jews and the Jews having power over the Germans to take the power away from the Jews and give it to the Nazi Party. Of course, that backfired. And another more modern way that freedom has been taken away is with the Patriot Act. And the Patriot Act, what it does is it limits almost every single amendment from the Bill of Rights except for the Second Amendment, which is strange but also frightening, because there are so many people that are willing to fight for Second Amendment but not the First Amendment, the Third Amendment. Actually, okay, no, they didn't talk about the Third Amendment, actually. Okay, so it turns out that the Patriot Act doesn't say anything about the Third Amendment, but it says stuff about the other amendments, like freedom of speech, saying things that might be against the government or pro-terrorist are now illegal. You can be detained or sent to jail for doing those things, even though one of the founding cornerstones of our society is the freedom of speech. And so another freedom is from warrantless searches and seizures. And in today's day and age, protection from that just straight up doesn't exist. The majority of time, police will go get a warrant before breaking down a door, but there have been court cases in the Supreme Court that say that it's okay to break down someone's door as long as you get a warrant afterwards, which in turn has led to people going into the police going into someone's home, breaking down the door and searching the area, and just never getting a warrant at all, with complete disregard for the law. So, what can we do about it? So I'm gonna have a little video clip, and it's from the movie Network. It'll be pretty cool. So what can we do? We can take a stand for freedom. That's what I'm trying to convince you. You should be pro-freedom. Now, what you think freedom is, that can change from person to person, depending on how much power you want and how much liberty you want. I'm not going to tell you where I lie on that spectrum. That's for you to decide. But at the very least, you need to be active. You have to understand what's going on around you. You have to be able to do something now before it's too late. And we can see what happens when it's too late with the Nazis. And this Patriot Act is just the first step. If we don't do something about it, it'll be too late to turn back.